All right, let's dive into an incredible story. Today, we're going on an amazing journey, following a single particle of light on a mission that happens millions of times every single second, all inside one of the most amazing devices ever created, the human eye.
And it really all boils down to this one simple question. I mean, how does something like light carry all the information we need to see faces, colors, and, well, the entire world around us? To answer that, we've got to meet our hero.
So say hello to Ray. She's a tiny particle of light on a super important quest to travel from an object, journey through this complex and tricky landscape, and successfully deliver her message of sight to her final destination. Her story is the story of how we see.
All right, let's kick off Ray's epic quest. And like any great journey, hers has a pretty extraordinary destination.
So, this is the target, the human eye. It's this almost perfect little ball, just about 2.3 centimeters across, but it works like a super advanced camera. Its whole purpose is to capture explorers just like Ray and focus them perfectly onto a light-sensitive screen way at the back.
But, getting there? That's the real challenge. To complete her mission, Ray has to navigate the treacherous and absolutely fascinating landscape inside this human camera.
Okay, so her path is laid out. First, she has to get through the cornea, which is like a transparent front gate where her path gets bent for the very first time. Then she has to zip through the pupil, a doorway that's always changing size, shrinking in bright light and opening wide in the dark. After that comes the most critical part, the crystalline lens, which is going to fine-tune her path. And finally, if everything goes just right, she'll land on the retina, a screen just packed with light-sensitive cells all ready to get her message.
Now that crystalline lens has a literal superpower, and it's called accommodation. This is the eye's incredible ability to physically change the shape of its lens, which changes its focusing power on the fly. I mean, that's how you can look at a mountain way off in the distance and then, boom, focus on the words right in front of you, almost instantly.
So how does this superpower actually work? Well, when you're looking at something far away, these tiny little muscles called ciliary muscles relax. This lets the lens get thin, increasing its focal length. But when you look at something up close, those same muscles contract and they squeeze the lens, making it thicker and more powerful. This decreases the focal length, giving Ray the perfect trajectory to focus on things nearby. It's a brilliant, completely automatic system. Now, there is a limit to this amazing power. For a typical healthy eye, that magic number is about 25 centimeters. It's called the near point. If something gets any closer than that, the lens just can't get thick enough to focus Ray properly. Her message just comes in all blurry, and you can totally feel that eye strain. Okay, but what happens when the system isn't, perfect? Sometimes the structure of the eye itself creates an obstacle, and Ray's journey can really go astray. So, let's talk about our first big challenge, myopia, or what most of us call nearsightedness. In this case, the eyeball itself is a little too long. This means for things far away, Ray's journey gets cut short. The lens focuses her perfectly, but she lands in front of the retina. Her message arrives, but it's at the wrong address, and the result is a blurry image.
But don't worry, there's a hero in this story. An ally arrives in the form of a concave lens. Yep, the kind in glasses for nearsighted folks. This lens bends Ray's path just a little bit before she even enters the eye. That little adjustment gives her the course correction she needs so that when the eye's own lens focuses her, she travels that tiny extra distance and lands perfectly on the retina. And just like that, mission successful.
All right, our next challenge is basically the exact opposite problem, hypermetropia or farsightedness. Here, the eyeball is a little too short. When trying to focus on things up close, Ray has so much energy that she completely overshoots the retina. The focus point is trying to form somewhere behind the eye, which again gives you a blurry image.
And you guessed it, another ally comes to the rescue. This time it's a convex lens. This lens gives Ray a little extra focusing boost, bending her path just enough so the eye's own lens can take over and guide her to a perfect landing right on that retinal screen. It's amazing how a simple shaped piece of glass can fix such a complex problem, right?
Okay, so up until now, we've been thinking of Ray as this single, solo explorer. But our hero has a pretty colorful secret. Turns out, she's actually a whole team. When Ray, who we see as white light, passes through something like a glass prism, something pretty magical happens. She splits apart, revealing who she really is. This is called dispersion. The prism bends each part of her team at a slightly different angle, fanning them all out into a beautiful spectrum of color.
And these are her true colors, the whole team that makes up white light. You probably remember this from school, right? VIBGYOR? The violet light gets bent the most, while the red light gets bent the least. Every single color you see in the world is just some combination of these fundamental pieces of light.
And you know who figured this out? None other than the brilliant Isaac Newton. He was the first one to take a beam of sunlight and a prism and show the world this hidden rainbow, proving that the pure white light from our sun is actually made of all these different colors. Which, of course, brings us to a question pretty much everyone has asked at some point in their life. If sunlight is made of all these colors, why on earth does the sky look blue?
Well, it's all because of something called atmospheric scattering. See, the air around us is packed with these tiny, tiny molecules, much smaller than a wavelength of light. And these little particles are really good at scattering the shorter, more energetic wavelengths like blue and violet. So as Ray and her team travel from the sun, the blue light gets bounced around in every direction, filling up the sky. That scattered blue light is what reaches our eyes from all over. The red and yellow light, on the other hand, travels in a more straight line, which is why the sun itself looks kind of yellowish to us.
All right, so we followed Ray's entire journey, we've seen her overcome obstacles, and we've even learned her colorful secrets. Now it's time for the final challenge. Let's see what we've learned.
Okay, here's a classic situation for you. A student is sitting in the last row of the classroom and is having a hard time reading the blackboard. So thinking like Ray, what's going wrong on her trip from the blackboard to the student's eye?
You got it, it's myopia. The blackboard is a distant object, so Ray's path is getting focused too soon, in front of the retina. And we know exactly who to call for help on this mission. A concave lens, our hero, to correct her path and make those words on the board land sharp and clear. So we've seen Ray's journey through the eye and across our sky. But her longest journeys, the ones from distant stars, face one last obstacle. As she travels through Earth's shaky, turbulent atmosphere, her path gets bent and twisted over and over again, which makes her shimmer and dance in the night sky. So what do we call the effect that makes the stars twinkle? Sounds like a whole new quest for another time, doesn't it?